Have you ever felt an unsettling whisper within? A persistent voice that subtly steers your decisions, shapes your reactions, and sometimes even dictates your happiness? It's a feeling many of us experience, a sense of being driven by something just beyond our conscious grasp, yet deeply intertwined with who we believe ourselves to be. Today, we're going to gently explore that inner landscape, guided by timeless Buddhist wisdom, to uncover 5 subtle signs that your ego might be quietly, yet powerfully, controlling your life. This isn't about judgment, but about compassionate self-awareness, a journey towards greater freedom and inner peace. So, settle in, take a deep breath, and let's begin this exploration together. In the realm of Buddhist thought, the ego isn't seen as inherently bad in the way we often use the term in everyday conversation, like someone being egotistical. Instead, it refers to our deeply ingrained sense of a separate, permanent self, a fixed identity that we cling to. It's the story we tell ourselves about who we are, what we need, and how the world should operate around us. This self often feels vulnerable, constantly seeking validation, protection, and reinforcement. It's the source of much of our suffering, not because it's evil, but because it's an illusion of separateness in an interconnected world. When the ego is in control, we live from a place of fear, attachment, and a constant striving to maintain this constructed identity, rather than from our true, expansive nature. Recognizing its subtle influence is the first step towards loosening its grip and discovering a more authentic, peaceful way of being. The first sign that your ego might be controlling your life is a constant, insatiable need for external validation and approval. Think about it. Do you find yourself frequently checking social media for likes, comments, or shares after posting something? Do you tailor your opinions, your appearance, or even your life choices based on what you believe others will approve of? This isn't about healthy social connection or seeking constructive feedback. It's about an underlying anxiety that your worth is dependent on how others perceive you. The ego thrives on external affirmation because it reinforces its constructed identity. It whispers, if others see you as successful, intelligent, attractive, or kind, then you are those things, and therefore you are safe and worthy. When this validation is absent, or worse, when criticism arises, the ego feels threatened, leading to feelings of inadequacy, anxiety, or even anger. From a Buddhist perspective, this constant seeking of external approval is a form of attachment to reputation, to praise, to a particular image. The Buddha taught that true peace comes from within, from understanding our inherent worth, independent of external conditions. When we are constantly looking outside ourselves for validation, we become like a leaf blown by the wind, our inner state entirely dependent on the ever-changing opinions of others. To begin to free ourselves from this, we can practice mindfulness. Notice the urge to seek approval, acknowledge it without judgment, and gently redirect our attention inward, cultivating a sense of self-acceptance that doesn't require external confirmation. It's a journey of realizing that your inherent value is not something to be earned or granted by others, but a fundamental truth of your being. The second sign is an inability to accept criticism or admit mistakes without feeling deeply threatened or defensive. When someone offers feedback, even if it's constructive, Does your immediate reaction involve a surge of defensiveness, a need to explain away your actions, or even to counterattack? Do you find it incredibly difficult to say, "You know what? You're right. I made a mistake," without feeling a profound sense of shame or inadequacy? This is the ego at work, fiercely protecting its carefully crafted image of perfection and competence. The ego believes that admitting a flaw or accepting criticism diminishes its standing, making it vulnerable. It equates making a mistake with being a mistake. It sees criticism as an attack on its very existence, rather than an opportunity for growth. In Buddhist teachings, humility is a profound virtue. It's not about self-deprecation, but about recognizing our shared humanity, our imperfections, and our continuous capacity for learning. The path to wisdom often begins with acknowledging what we don't know, or where we've fallen short. When we can approach criticism with an open heart and mind, seeing it as information rather than an indictment, we free ourselves from the ego's need to be perpetually right. This allows us to learn, adapt, and evolve. Practice observing your initial defensive reactions. Instead of immediately responding, take a pause, breathe, ask yourself, what if there's a kernel of truth here? What can I learn from this? This simple shift can transform a perceived threat into a powerful catalyst for personal development. Moving on to our third sign, frequent comparison with others, leading to either envy or a sense of superiority. In our hyper-connected world, it's easy to fall into the trap of constantly measuring ourselves against others. We scroll through social media feeds, seeing curated highlights of lives that appear more successful, happier, or more beautiful than our own. The ego loves this game. It constantly evaluates, am I better than them, or am I worse than them? If it perceives itself as better, it inflates with a temporary sense of superiority, a fleeting high. If it perceives itself as worse, it plunges into envy, resentment, or self-pity, fueling a sense of inadequacy. Neither state brings lasting peace. Both are rooted in the illusion of separation, the idea that our worth is relative to someone else's. Buddhist wisdom emphasizes interconnectedness, the understanding that we are all part of a larger tapestry of existence. When we compare ourselves, we create artificial boundaries and foster a sense of competition rather than shared humanity. The Buddha taught about mudita, or sympathetic joy, the practice of genuinely rejoicing in the happiness and success of others, as if it were our own. This practice directly counters the ego's tendency to compare and compete. Instead of seeing another's success as a threat to our own, we can see it as an affirmation of the potential within all beings. When you catch yourself comparing, gently bring your awareness back to your own path, your own unique journey. Cultivate gratitude for what you have and practice mudita for others. This shifts your focus from scarcity and competition to abundance and shared well-being. The fourth sign that your ego might be in the driver's seat is a strong attachment to specific outcomes and an intense fear of failure. Do you find yourself meticulously planning every detail, agonizing over potential setbacks, and feeling immense anxiety if things don't go exactly as you envisioned? Does the thought of not achieving a particular goal or of a project not succeeding fill you with dread? This is the ego's desire for control and predictability. It wants to orchestrate life to ensure its own comfort, success, and validation. It believes that if it can control the outcome, it can protect itself from disappointment, judgment, and the perceived threat of failure. However, life is inherently unpredictable. The universe operates with its own rhythms, often beyond our individual control. When we cling tightly to specific outcomes, we set ourselves up for suffering. Every deviation from our plan becomes a source of stress, frustration, and unhappiness. Buddhist teachings speak profoundly about impermanence, anicca, and non-attachment. The understanding that everything is constantly changing and that clinging to anything, whether it's a desired outcome, a possession, or even an identity, will inevitably lead to suffering. Non-attachment isn't about not caring or not striving. It's about engaging with life fully, putting in our best effort, but holding the results lightly. It's about finding peace in the process, regardless of the outcome. When you notice yourself becoming overly attached to a particular result, gently remind yourself of impermanence. Focus on the effort, the intention, and the learning experience, rather than solely on the end goal. Trust that even if things don't unfold as planned, there is always an opportunity for growth and new beginnings. Finally, the fifth sign we'll explore today is a persistent feeling of being misunderstood or a victim of circumstances. Does it often feel like others just don't get you, or that life is unfairly dealing you a difficult hand? Do you find yourself frequently recounting stories where you were wronged, overlooked, or unfairly treated? While genuine injustices certainly occur, a persistent pattern of feeling like a victim, where blame is consistently placed outside of oneself, is a strong indicator of egoic control. The ego loves to construct narratives that protect its image and avoid responsibility. If something goes wrong, it's easier for the ego to say, "It's their fault," or "It's just my bad luck," rather than to look inward and consider one's own role or response. This victim narrative can be incredibly comforting in the short term, as it absolves the ego of accountability and maintains its sense of innocence. However, in the long term, it disempowers us, trapping us in a cycle of helplessness and resentment. Buddhist wisdom, particularly the concept of karma, action and consequence, emphasizes personal responsibility for our thoughts, words, and deeds. It encourages us to look at our own minds and actions as the primary source of our experience, rather than solely external factors. This isn't about blaming ourselves for everything, but about recognizing our agency, our power to choose our responses, to learn from challenges, and to shape our inner world. When you find yourself slipping into a victim narrative, pause. Ask yourself, what is my role in this situation, even if it's just my reaction to it? What can I learn from this? What choice do I have right now, regardless of external circumstances? Shifting from blame to self-awareness and personal agency is a profound step towards liberation. Recognizing these 5 signs isn't about condemning ourselves or our ego. It's about cultivating a gentle, compassionate awareness. The ego isn't an enemy to be vanquished. It's a part of our human experience that, when unexamined, can lead us astray from our true nature. By observing these patterns without judgment, we begin to create a space between ourselves and the ego's incessant demands. This space is where true freedom resides. It's where we can choose to respond from a place of wisdom and compassion, rather than react from fear and attachment. The path forward, illuminated by Buddhist wisdom, involves several key practices. Firstly, mindfulness, simply noticing when these egoic patterns arise. Don't try to stop them. Just observe them, like clouds passing in the sky. Ah, there's the need for validation, or here's the defensiveness. This observation weakens their grip. Secondly, compassion. Extend kindness to yourself for having these human tendencies. We all do, and extend compassion to others, understanding that their egoic patterns often stem from their own suffering. Thirdly, non-attachment. Practice letting go of the need for things to be a certain way, whether it's an outcome, an opinion, or even your own self-image. Understand that everything is impermanent. And finally, self-inquiry. Regularly ask yourself, who am I beyond these thoughts, feelings, and roles? This deep questioning can help dissolve the illusion of a fixed, separate self. Embracing these practices isn't about eradicating the ego entirely, but about understanding its nature and learning to live from a deeper, more authentic place. It's about shifting from being controlled by the ego to consciously choosing a path of peace, wisdom, and genuine connection. This journey of self-discovery is the most profound adventure you can embark upon, leading to a life lived with greater ease, joy, and profound inner freedom. May this exploration bring you closer to your true, boundless self. If this video resonated with you, please subscribe and share it with friends.